Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Subnet Show. I am your host as always, Gabriel Cardona, and I'm joined by the man with the most caps in crypto, Connor Daly. What is up, my friend?
Not much, Gabriel. I have the door open today. A little bit different recording setup. Fiance is out of the house, so there's nobody to make any noise. But that means the cats are free to come in as they please. So we might
Yeah.
get some visitors today. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we missed you last week, man. So please don't ever leave us again. No, of course, it was good to have some downtime. We're stoked to have you back. So, everybody who's been watching the show since we've launched it has known that the initial intention was for us to, meet all of the different players in the blockchain ecosystem and find out about their crypto journey and their crypto vision. And today we are just incredibly fortunate to have a super huge player in the entire blockchain ecosystem. Today we are joined by Ivan on Tech. How's it going, Ivan?
All good, all good. Thanks for inviting me, guys. And happy to discuss tech, Web3, Avalanche, everything that your viewers would appreciate.
Yeah, so a lot of people out there know you, but as I was looking around, I couldn't find a ton of interviews with you. So I think this is going to be a unique opportunity to get some insight into Ivan. I know you've just had a huge amount of impact. I've had, even before I met you with Moralis and the whole hackathon and everything, I had so many friends reach out to me who said they were learning through your academy and learning through your YouTube channel. So I know you've just had a huge impact. And so I think we have a bunch of questions about your crypto history. But I think just with regards to, catching people who are initially watching and making sure they don't bounce off, we kind of wanted to jump to what you're working on right now, because especially it overlaps with what I'm working on right now. So let's touch on Moralis. You are a co-founder of Moralis with your co-founder's name is?
Philip.
Yes, that's right.
Philip.
Yes. So give us a sense of, I know you branded as like the Firebase of crypto or something like that, but why don't you kind of give us the high level overview of what exactly is Moralis and how did you get inspired to create Moralis?
Yeah. Well, we are developers, Philip and I. When we came into the space, we saw how developers build Web3 applications. And in a way, we were shocked because in order to show anything to the end user, you have to build the whole backend solution. Because the way you build without Moralis is that you connect to an RPC node. But the problem with the RPC node is that it cannot tell you a lot of information. You have to index it. You have to run the graph, for example, or you have to run your own pipelines where you take out data from the RPC node, then you put it into the database. But then that's one part. But then the second part is that also everyone is reinventing their own way of authenticating users. Because when you log in someone with MetaMask using, for example, Ethers.js or Web3.js, it's not enough because there is no session established with your backend. You cannot really handle the user as an authenticated user and perform different actions on your backend, which you have to do. For example, let's say you log in a user, you want to collect their email, maybe to send out some news or something about their account, which many dApps do. Well, you need to first connect them to your database in your backend. So we thought there needs to be a solution for this, because in Web2, if I have an idea in Web2 and I start building, I can have a prototype already tonight and I can show it tomorrow to my potential user base. But in Web3, it's not at all like that. If I have an idea, I need to spin up my own server from scratch. Then I need to figure out how to connect to the blockchain. Some nodes are easy to get, some nodes are not easy to get, depending on the chain. Then I need to figure out how to put everything into database, how to create real-time alerts if I want to send out notifications or emails or webhooks, depending on what happens on chain. I need to be able to react to smart contract events. I mean, all of that should be just a backend solution which can be off the shelf and that anyone should be able to use so that they can get going with an easy SDK and they can get building. So that's how Moralis started. And of course, the equivalence of this in Web2 space is Firebase, where you don't have to run your own server, you don't have to run your own email server, you don't have to do anything. You just connect your SDK, which is, for example, your JavaScript or TypeScript SDK. You can get going building today. You can log in users with 1 line of code, and everything is managed for you. So this is what Moralis is as well. You log in users with 1 line of code. They can log in on different blockchains, of course, including Avalanche. All their assets are pulled into your database instantly. So you can already start with simple JavaScript, getting their assets, showing them on the screen. As soon as they move their assets on chain, you are getting the updates in your database in real time. So you just need to know how to use simple JavaScript. And of course, it's not only about JavaScript. We have our Metaverse Sdk, which is a Unity integration. So you can build Web3 games with Unity Game Engine, you can bring it up on your Xbox. You can log in with Wallet Connect. You can get all your NFTs straight into your television via Xbox or via web or via mobile. It's on all platforms. So that's how we started, and that's the journey we're on. And of course, very fantastic to work together with you guys as we're doing our hackathon together, which was very, very successful. And we've had, I think, 2,000 applicants there, and now we're in the judging process. It was absolutely amazing, and it's really changing people's lives. I mean, we feel that when they find Moralis, their mind is blown, that this is how easy it should be, and they never even imagined that it would be this easy before they found Moralis. And then we have a lot of plans how we will open source, so you can self-host Moralis. We think that's important, and we have a whole roadmap about that. But in a short version, this is what Moralis is and what we're doing.
All right, so this interview has already been a success for me. I was just having a huge discussion about how to do authentication for a hybrid Web2, Web3 app. And so now we might be looking at Moralis a little bit later today.
So how do you go about choosing which platforms you integrate, and which ones did you start with, and how is Avalanche your most recent one?
So we had Phantom, I think, as our recent one. So we look at where developers are. So of course we start with Ethereum, and then we looked around, and it was during the summer. And during the summer, the hype was Binance Chain, and it still is. So we did Binance Chain, then we did Avalanche, then we did Polygon, then we did Phantom, and now we're looking into Solana. And
are these all EVMs? Are you looking for EVM API integration, or
no?
I guess Solana is not EVM, right?
Exactly. So we start with EVM only, and our latest one is Solana, because we don't want the users, the developers, our users, to speak to the nodes or really worry about the differences between different chains, because no matter your use case, you need a few things which are the same. You need to log in a user, you need to get their assets, NFTs, you need to know when they do things on chain, and that is the same across all chains. So we abstract away, whether it's Solana or something else or EVM. Our mission, at least, is to abstract it away, and we're working on that. Solana, right now, we don't have full integration. We just have an API because it's very different from everything else. But the goal is that we'll have full integration there as well. And we are where the users are. Now we're also looking into Mutable X, because the gaming use case is so big among our users, and they're good for that. And of course, Avalanche, we integrated as soon as we learned how to run the node and how to connect to it. And the growth has been insane in the Avalanche users. So that's been very successful. And if tomorrow there is a new chain, our goal is that our users should not worry that they pick the wrong stack. Let's say that whether it's some subnet in the Avalanche ecosystem or some layer 2 on Ethereum, it should just be for them one button click, and now they support it. And we abstract away the complexity. In a way, we're thinking about it as the CPU. The different chains for us, we're thinking a bit like CPU. If I'm building a website, I don't want to speak to the CPU, because number one, it's very low level tech. Number two, there is new CPU tomorrow. Apple did their own CPU, AMD, ARM. Of course, I don't want to worry about that. If I need to, I should be able to access it. So we provide access to the nodes. But for 99% of people, it's our vision, at least, is that it's not something that you would be talking to a lot.
So this really speaks to me. I think that one of my biggest criticisms of application development in Web3 so far is people have mostly focused on building Web3 apps that are just Web3 apps, and they kind of just throw away the last decade or 2 decades of work in Web2. And so websites end up having very poor user experience because they don't have persistent sessions for users. They don't, if they're loading from IPFS, images might load really slowly. We're kind of throwing out all the good stuff that we've learned from the last 2 decades. And I think that there's real opportunity in creating a significantly better user experience by creating these hybrid Web2, Web3 apps. And that's where I do a lot of my work now. And it sounds like this is kind of exactly where Moralis is focused of, how can you do, authentication is a very Web2 concept. You don't need authentication in Web3 because you're just interacting with the contract directly. But if you want to have a user be able to, save their list of favorite tokens or something like that on a dashboard, you're going to need to track user state. You're going to need an actual database. And if you want to make it persistent between the mobile app and the desktop experience, you need to be able to, to track that user data. And it's really exciting to me that I think you're very much on the same wavelength of, providing the tools to kind of create those style of apps.
And, when it comes to the persistent session, when it comes to placing the cookie and establishing a user session, it's not only for storing user data. Sometimes it's also about access, because a lot of blockchain data is unstructured. It's not usable. So normally you have a database where you, for example, pull in the smart contract events from the blockchain, or you do some other calculation. So on your backend, normally you will have a lot of data that is relevant to your application. And there you need to be able to see who should access. Should everyone be able to query my API and access it however they want, or should only authenticate users be able to query it however they want? And of course, there are many off-chain use cases as well. I mean, if I have a game, for example, everything will not be on-chain. It's impossible. I will have different pieces of data that I don't want to share on-chain. For example, where the players are on the map right now, maybe I want to share it on-chain, maybe not. But if it's a real-time game, of course, I will not upload it to the chain. So that's something where you have permissions, that some users should be able to see some of your data in the database and some not. So you need a session, of course. And I totally agree. We are merging with Web2, and that's the future. Web3 and Web2, they are merging, and it's happening faster and faster. And some people say, oh, but are we removing decentralization, or are we becoming more centralized? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, all assets are on-chain. All smart contracts are on-chain. Your keys are your keys. Nobody controls your keys. You control your keys. So all the important things are on-chain. So what really we're doing is that we're improving the off-chain experience. And look, all dApps, even today, they have a big backend. OpenSea has a massive backend. Etherscan has a massive backend. Whatever dApp you look at, no dApp actually works completely just speaking to smart contract. It's very rare that you see something like this. And the idea that we had as well is, how do we empower devs so that they also get the same power as Etherscan, the same power as OpenSea? Because when we entered into the space, we thought, oh, Etherscan, it must be such an easy application. They're just showing me the data. They're just showing me the data from the node. I just ask the node, I show it on the side. No, but it's very difficult. And to do it quickly, and because the data in the node is unstructured, to do it quickly, you need to have massive pipelines, massive backend, and of course, that's only for blockchain data. Then you have more high-level data like NFTs, where nobody is following standards. As you know, there are very bad practices in the NFT space, where some projects follow standards, some don't. Some store their images on IPFS, some store their images on a centralized server. And it becomes very problematic, because let's say I have a use case where I need to show all the NFTs of my user. They log in, I need to show all NFTs. I mean, the problem is that I need to often do like 300 requests to do it, because I first need to figure out I need to ask IPFS or centralized server for the JSON. I got the JSON. Then within the JSON, there is image file. So for all of these images, now I need to ask the image file. So it's 2 requests per NFT, and my user may have 100 NFTs, and maybe I have many users that all. So at the end of the day, that's also something we do a lot, where we try to resolve as much of this data as possible. So when you use Moralis, all NFTs, they're already resolved. You just need to download the image. You don't have to do 2 requests. And also you actually get this data served by us and not by a random third-party server, because a lot of these NFTs, they're stored on some server that is not really up to date with all the load that the NFT might be getting, because the project maybe didn't even expect that the NFT would be big. So just put their NFT on some server without scaling, without CDN, without anything. And that's problematic. You may get even rate limited. Your users may get rate limited if you try to even show the NFT. So it's a lot of small problems that add up to big backend problems and big backend solutions you have to make that you shouldn't have to, because everyone is redoing the same things anyway.
Yeah, and as one of the things I've noticed as I've used Moralis is that it's very high quality. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you guys are cutting the corners anywhere, which is something I was very impressed on. So I was wondering, from your perspective, as sort of the co-founder and the leader of the team, and then also you have a big social presence as well, you put out a lot of content. How much time do you personally spend engineering and also like roadmaps, or what is the sort of daily journey look like for you? And then how big is your team? How fast are you guys growing?
Yeah, we've grown extremely fast, from 0 to over 70 now in under a year. It's been a very quick journey, and it's needed because and we're just solving this simple, architecture stuff. And you can imagine if you have a project, how many people do you need if you want to build something? You may think it's easy, but it's not easy. So we've grown extremely fast. And from the beginning, the vision, of course, came from Philip and me, and we were just the two of us. And we thought, okay, how do we start? And then
what does Moralis mean, by the way? Sorry to cut you off. What does Moralis mean? Where does the name come from?
The name, so that's another story, because from the beginning, we thought, should it be called like Web3 tools, Web3 backend, Web3, but then we thought, all the apps that we use every day, like Spotify, Amazon, they don't mean anything. So we thought, okay, we need a name that is not like, Web3 something something, or like crypto something something. And then we had the brainstorming session, and then Moralis came up as one of them, and we liked how it sounded, that it has this very trustworthy, credible name to it, and it really aligns with our values, that we're transparent, we do everything for our community. So it is perfect, because it is our DNA, and the name represents our DNA. So we took it instantly. As soon as we heard it, we already took it. So that's how that was. So Philip and I, we started from just ourselves, but then we at that time had our educational business, which was Avalanche Academy, and now it's Moralis Academy. So we had a lot of help from day one, when it comes, for example, to customer support team, when it comes to design team. So a lot of that groundwork has been built, but we didn't have, of course, the core engineering teams. So there we were lucky to find amazing engineers very, very quickly, thanks to our community. And from the beginning, the vision came mainly from us. But now, as we're pretty big now, we have over 100,000 developers. Now it's impossible for me or Philip or anyone alone to see where this industry is heading. Instead, we do have product teams that speak with our big dApps to see what they want, so that we actually know what our clients want in our roadmap. And then, of course, I'm doing content. I'm in Discord. I'm everywhere trying to feel the pulse of the community, and I can get the pulse of the community when it comes to people starting out, because people are writing, "Hey, Ivan, I have this idea," and then that I get a lot of. But what I don't get a lot of is what the big projects want, and that's where we have our product team. So they do the interviews, they go deep into the client needs, and that's how we structure it, and we're learning every day how to do it, and we're also scaling every day, because we went from 0 to 100,000 devs, and it's been a big journey. That's just insane. To scale this backend. It's been a huge journey. So that's something that it's all about talent. I mean, without talent we were nothing. So it's our great team that is able to achieve this, and my job is a lot to set the big vision, and our big vision is to create this unified standard for dApps, no matter which chain you want to build on, and to find the best people that can do it, and to ensure that they have the tools needed, that they have everything needed to do it. And then, of course, a lot of my work is also to speak publicly, to speak on different podcasts, to speak on different conferences, to represent. That's very important, and to find partners. That's also very important. Normally, it's I that find partners. Like, for example, when we did the hackathon, or with you guys, or other integrations that we do, that's something that I do a lot. But to summarize, my big task is to do the big picture vision, to structure the teams that they feel that we're all moving in the same direction. They have the tools, and they also have their processes, how to find their more technical vision. So when it comes to exactly which feature, exactly what roadmap, that's they need to speak to the clients about that, and we all work together. So yeah, on the big picture, this is what I do every day. And of course, I have my YouTube, but my YouTube is now a bit secondary, because of course Moralis is the main thing. But when Bitcoin pumps, let's see, maybe I should do a video today, because we are over 40K, which is of course fantastic.
Yeah, so
I think so.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So I just wanted to dive into the hackathon a little bit. Obviously, Moralis Hackathon, Gabriel has talked about it to death on this podcast. That and like the YO Hackathon are the recurring Gabriel segments on the show. And I mean, obviously, you've been able to create such a huge and engaged community. What was the goal with the hackathon, and why did you think Avalanche would be the right place to kind of host it?
Yeah, well, number one, Avalanche has been growing a lot. We've all seen that, and we think that the technical solution that you guys have is very interesting, and that it's still a bit undiscovered by developers. So we wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, that Avalanche is not just an EVM, although right now it's C-chain that is most popular, but it's so much more with the subnets and this whole ecosystem of different subnets. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like different chains, right? And that's something that I think most people still don't understand, this full picture. So we wanted to bring this to our developers' attention, and that we, I think, have succeeded with a lot, as now people have a way better understanding what Avalanche is. And of course, we see that people are building on Avalanche, that there are total value locked metrics that are growing, that we see exchanges, we see DeFi protocols, we see different kinds of DeFi projects coming from scratch and building on Avalanche. So that's how we measure the growth of any chain. And we saw a lot of these boxes being checked for Avalanche. And that's how we start to work. And with the hackathon, we saw that you guys, we have a nice Telegram group going, and we said, this is amazing. Let's do a hackathon together, as Avalanche is growing and we integrate Avalanche. So it was a perfect match.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that a little bit. So to finish up the last topic, I've noticed about, just to wrap up the previous thought, it seems like the culture of the company needs to really be set from the top. And I've seen that really done well here at Ava Labs, where, you know, starting with Goon and Kevin and John and Ted, our C-levels all the way down, we just have a really strong culture of innovation and engineering. And, you know, we're blockchain native. And I think that has really cascaded down through all of the layers of the org chart. And something that I mention multiple times a week, because I believe that Ava Labs is going to be a huge startup, and I feel the same way about Moralis, no question about it, is how do you scale from being a startup to being, you know, a worldwide major company, but still maintain that culture of innovation and, you know, a startup culture, even though, you know, you're thousands of people by this point. How do you do that? Well, it starts at the top and it cascades down. And I think you've done a very great job of that. And then to talk about the 100,000 developers on Moralis, number one, that's just a stunning number. Like, anybody out there should be shocked. There's 100,000 developers out there that are getting integrated into Web3. That should give you a sense of where the world is going to be in 6 months or a year. It's going to be quite amazing. And part of my job is that I do a ton of hackathons and meetups. And so recently I was judging the Chainlink hackathon. So there was a Chainlink hackathon back in the fall of last year. And out of the group that I judged, I think the numbers ended up being 4 out of 10 were integrated with Moralis. So 2 out of 5, basically. Nice. So I just seeing from last year, there's tons. So I get a sense of where the 100,000 is because I myself have seen it. And, you know, if anybody who's ever built an app realizes the power of these cloud services, it's like AWS or Heroku or, you know, being able to abstract away a lot of this common functionality and make it cloud services is just so incredibly powerful. And so from our perspective, we wanted to team up with you guys simply because it's the right idea at the right time with the right team. I think you guys have really are playing on all the points there. And as Ivan mentioned, we had over 2,000 people sign up, which is a huge number. We had over $500,000 in prizes, which is, again, just an absolutely stunning number. The first, second, and third place prizes, which you had to use both Avalanche and Moralis Tech, because if you remember, Moralis is a multi-blockchain ecosystem. So you could participate in this hackathon and you could do some of the bounties and not use Avalanche Tech. But we set aside 175,000, 100 grand, 50 grand, and 25 grand for the first, second, and third. And you had to use Moralis and Avalanche Tech. And we just had the submissions on the 31st. I don't think the number is public, so I'm going to hold off on that. But it is a ton of submissions. Like, the next big body of work for us is to get through them. But it's just an incredibly rewarding number. Like, it's the number you're probably thinking. If you're watching this right now, we had 2,000 people sign up. There's been a lot of submissions. So I think that's very exciting. And now we just need to get through it. And then I think we're announcing the bounty winners on the 14th, and then we're doing like the demo day on the 21st. And we're also plugged in a lot with VCs. So to me, it already feels very successful, but it would feel incredibly successful if the big startup this time next year, if the seed for that startup was planted during this hackathon. And I think that's entirely possible because the amount of time, 2 months, and then the amount of prizes, 100 grand. I'm sure there's been plenty of angel rounds that have been less than 100 grand. So I think the opportunity is really big for the next big startup. Go for it.
Yeah, look, I think that this hackathons is the best thing ever because I've never seen anything remotely close in Web2. And this is something we discussed on our opening ceremony. In Web2, you get like a sticker and that's it. Okay, you get participation sticker. Maybe you get $1,000, maybe an iPad. They give you an iPad potentially, or some trip. I've been in a few hackathons where you win a trip to some conference with them. But this is $500,000 prize. It's insane. So it's very good work on your side, guys, as you collected all of that prize money with all the partners and the VCs, and also great opportunity because the VCs are there. They're looking at the projects, and this is going to be very important. I think that's how this industry grows to a big extent. I spoke recently with Vantage, and but I think Vantage is integrating Avalanche. They spoke to us about that. So Vantage also started in the hackathon, for example, and now it's a multi-billion, massive protocol, and a great success story. And the big projects of 2024, 2025, and so on and so forth, they are starting now. Because if you think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Uniswap didn't even exist. Uniswap came out of nowhere, I think in 2019 or something, 2020. And the same with OpenSea. It was non-existent, very small, very marginal app in 2017. And now it's the biggest app in Ethereum, according to the latest numbers. So that's the big opportunity here, because the big dApps in a few years, they're going to be 10 times, if not 100 times bigger than the current ones. And probably also they're going to be different because this industry is new, it's changing very quickly. And in a new industry, you have a lot of chaos, a lot of players before it consolidates. And I think we're far from consolidation, that we have, the clear winners in this industry. And it's also so global. So who knows even if there are going to be clear winners like in Web2. So yeah, fantastic. I'm very happy with the collaboration on the hackathon.
And what do you see as a success for you? Do you imagine getting acquired by AWS? Do you see yourself being the next Google? Like, what is success for Moralis from where you're sitting?
I mean, our North Star is standard for dApps. So like I said, we will open source so you can self-host Moralis yourself. We will have a community edition. And then we will also have an enterprise edition. So there we're very inspired by GitLab and how they've built a nice standard for workflow for CI, CD, but also for Git, of course. But they have an enterprise edition, which is, of course, very important for them as a company. But 99% of people use the community edition because 99% of people are not enterprise. So they help the development industry a lot. And of course, also they're highly successful in what they do. I think they listed on the stock market just recently for like 20 billion or something like that. So this is the goal because it's a win-win for everyone. They help the industry, they help the community by doing something for free. It's open source, community edition, fantastic. And of course, if you're a massive project and you need the enterprise features, enterprise support, then it's another level, of course, of commitment. And there is, you cannot be open source. And the thing is, when you are at that level, people don't want open source because they want someone to call, they want someone to run the migration, the updates, and so on and so forth. So it's fantastic. It's a win-win for everyone. So that's our North Star. And of course, while we're doing that, we may also go into the protocol level where Moralis goes from a service into a protocol. That will be very interesting to discover when we have a version that we're happy with, because now we're building so much, we're adding features, but at some point it would be interesting to explore if Moralis can be as a protocol. So you can run different parts of Moralis on your own machine, or if you have a big data center or you use some of the clouds, and you can earn Moralis tokens, which we don't have now, by the way, and we don't even have the timeline for this. I mean, this is long into the future. First, we need to really win over the developer hearts. I mean, that's what we're here to do. And then if we want to do a protocol and convert it into a protocol, we could do that as well down the line. But our North Star is standard for dApps, and that's what we work for, and that's the success definition.
Yeah, I mean, are you really a Web3 protocol without a token? I was going to have to ask when the Moralis token was coming.
Exactly. So we're not, like I said, we're not a protocol now, and our first step will be to just offer self-host, so that you can self-host on your own machine. If you are, of course, for a protocol, you need a token. Otherwise, there's no incentive. There's no one will run it, and because you need to, of course, it costs money to run the stuff. So if you are to offer it as a service, you need to be rewarded with a token. And we're looking at the big dev tokens because it will of course be a dev token. We're looking at big dev tokens like Chainlink, the Graph, and their models. And we're looking how it develops. And one of the most interesting for us, which is maybe the most comparable, would be the Graph. And as far as I know, you can correct me, but the Graph still, they haven't really transitioned into this decentralized. They have a token, yes, so they've had it for over a year, I think, but it's still a lot that it's not like an economy where I host the Graph and I earn. it's possible. I'm sure now it's possible. I just read yesterday some thread how to do it, but I don't feel that it's really adopted as the way to use the graph. So we want this industry to mature a bit. So we see, the best practice is how to take something like Moralis and do it as a protocol. And I think the graph is a perfect role model for us as they go ahead and they actually become decentralized and people earn rewards. So we're looking at how they're doing it, and other players, of course.
Yeah, I think that's really a smart move, because I think the graph, they have moved to their decentralized service on Ethereum. I think they can run that, but they still run the hosted service on like Avalanche. They only run the hosted service. But the way that the tokenomics and the kind of the game theory behind this works is there seems to be some good token models that work and a lot that don't. And if you come out with one that doesn't, your token goes to zero basically.
Horrible,
and you can't just make another. So it's really hard to be an innovator in that space when the risk is so high. And there's no, if you're planning on being around for 10 years or longer, you can't just flame out really quickly. You need to have something that's really sustainable. And so there is a lot of benefit to being a fast follower and letting some of the more flash in the pan projects kind of take some of the risk on tokenomics. And I think we've seen tons of that over the last 2 years. I think after DeFi summer, there was a huge token explosion for everyone launching their own DEX, everyone launching, there are tons of different like forks of lending protocols and stuff, and just seeing all of these on all of the different chains and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. Are some of these, like, how do governance tokens work? Are governance tokens really just meme tokens? That
Exactly.
kind of thing. And can you be successful in that environment?
Well, I mean, to a big extent, it's just like stocks, because stocks, in many cases, it's also useless governance if they don't have voting rights. To my knowledge, Facebook stock doesn't have voting right. I may be wrong, but I think many of these big tech stocks, they don't have any voting rights. They don't have any dividend because they don't have, they're in growth mode still. So it's just some stock, maybe it will have dividend in the future, maybe not. Maybe it will have voting rights in the future, maybe not. So I think that it has a lot of value nonetheless, although in Uniswap, I don't know how much you can really change, even if you have a big stake. But it's like in a big tech company, you can not change anything. You can just follow along in the big moves. If the token goes up in price and the overall market appreciates, fantastic. So I think it makes sense. I mean, the governance tokens, they make sense from a market perspective. We see the same thing in big tech, and you're completely correct. If we are to do a token, it needs to be on page 1. It needs to be high up on page 1. We cannot be on page 10 on CoinMarket. So that's why we're not really in a hurry, because the developers that use us now, they don't really care about tokens, at least now. And what we're looking at is just developer experience, and that's the only thing we care about. And when we are already at the global level, we've won the hearts of developers, then we can do a token, and it will even be easier for us to be on page 1, because if it's a big project that does a token, I mean, by definition, it will be on page 1 quite quickly. When it's a small project that is just up and coming, nobody knows about it, it will not be on page, it will be on page 10. So as we are growing, as we are developing, getting more users on board, we will be exploring more and more how to do the token launch.
Yeah, and in the context of developers falling in love with Moralis, I want to plug the tech a little bit. So go check out the, I believe it's called the Ethereum Boilerplate, but it works with Avalanche as well.
Yes, exactly.
There is just this if you're building an EVM app right now, if you're building a dApp, you want to go fork this repo. It has got like it's a bunch of React components and some callback APIs, but it's pretty much like 80% of every dApp you're going to want to build. If you're going to do an NFT dashboard or a wallet or something like that, 80% of it has already been built out in this Ethereum Boilerplate. Go fork that and build from there, and then add your special sauce. You will thank Ivan and his team later. And so go check all that out. I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on your journey as well. So I think we got a chance to touch on Moralis, but I think you've had a really interesting story. And I think you've sort of from my perspective, of course, from the outside looking in, it's like you sort of have come of age as an entrepreneur during the blockchain era. And so I think you're like a very, you've had a very unique journey. So if I'm understanding correctly, you started programming when you were pretty young, you started programming at 13, correct?
No, actually, when I was 9, I started to do HTML. I don't know if you can call it programming, but
Sure.
to me,
Yeah. You started typing on a keyboard and having stuff. So 9. you started
exactly.
doing HTML.
Yeah.
So how did you get turned on to that? Did you have a family in the game, or how did you get turned on at 9?
I was playing RuneScape, this game online. And,
Oh my God.
When you're a kid and you play games online and you like speak English and I mean, for us in Sweden, it's you're a gamer, you know computers, you think as a kid that you're very technical. So, but one day my account on RuneScape was hacked. They asked me, some guy said that he needs my password for some security check. And I said, yes, dear sir, please protect my account. So it was a good lesson for crypto. So I got completely scammed and I lost my account. I've been, playing it for years and now it was lost. And then my mom actually came and said, hey, Ivan, you're good with computers. And I said, yes, I'm good. I have been playing the game. And she said, why don't you try building your own games? And at that point, I don't know if you played RuneScape, but RuneScape, it was a Java application in the browser. So she gave me an HTML book where it says, learn how to build websites. And in my head, I thought, wait, so RuneScape, it's a website. So if I just finish this book, I can do RuneScape myself. I can like recreate it. So I started it, and it was quite easy. I mean, that's the thing. Starting programming, it's not difficult. And yes, I started at 9, but I wasn't that smart at 9. Like nobody at 9 is smart, but HTML, it's simple. You can understand it. So at that point, when I finished the book, I was disappointed, of course, because at the end of the book, I can do some text, I can do some list, display an image and some link. Okay, that's it. So then I thought, okay, what's next? And then I heard that C++ is used for games, and then my dev journey took a crazy turn for C++. But I'm looking back now, I was learning C++, but I was using it like JavaScript. I didn't understand pointers or memory. I know how to do a loop, how to like show things on the screen. So I learned C++, but I didn't really learn it because I was like 10, 11. I just know I used it like C# or Java, like no garbage memory. I didn't know anything about that. And yeah, I mean, then it was so fun. The journey continued. Then from C++, I learned the C# and the Java because it's basically the same, is very similar. Of course, that code was very ugly. It was like all in one file. I didn't know how to like do different files. Now, when I think back, and I knew that at that point, I thought I knew everything. I didn't even want to go to computer science university because I thought I can just watch YouTube videos. And there is a lot of truth to that. But I did go to computer science, which gave me a lot of these fundamentals that I think I would never learn myself. Like, for example, the big O notation, time complexity, algorithms. I mean, these things that you don't really need to learn them to develop, but it still adds like a silver lining to your skills as a developer. So practically I could have learned on YouTube, but technically I could have learned, but practically I would never do that because I don't need it in my daily life. But so I learned a lot of that in the university, and
so
my dev journey
before you get to the university, you won second place in the Hack Now competition when you were 16. So what was that all about? What was that app and what was it built with?
It was my first hackathon. So I built a website for swimmers. I was a swimmer, so I was in my first hackathon at that age. Maybe I was 14 or 15 or so. So it was that you could log in. It was PHP. You could log in. You could track your swimming workouts, and then my swimming club started to use it. It was very nice. You can add your swim workouts, and I was in that competition. I won Galaxy S2, Samsung Galaxy S2.
Nice.
and $1,500. So I should have.
That's too shabby. That's not too shabby.
It ain't too shabby, but comparison to Avalanche Hackathon,
it's no $100,000, but yeah, it ain't
exactly.
too bad.
Exactly.
So that had to feel rewarding for your team to start using it, right? As a kid.
Exactly. Yeah, it was very good. So but crypto has always, I started with crypto in 2013 as an engineer looking into it. And it was in high school, I learned about it. And I looked into Bitcoin a lot, and I liked it a lot, but I didn't really start working it because you didn't see the industry building. It was so difficult to see that this would be what it is now. So it was just a hobby. It was just a hobby.
In my notes here, I have first invested in BTC at 2013 at age of 15. So I wanted to ask you, in general, what are your thoughts on Satoshi and what are your thoughts on Bitcoin, BTC? So talk about Satoshi first. What do you think about Satoshi? Do you think it was one person? Do you think it was a team? Do you think he's still out there? What do you think?
I mean, honest answer, I have no clue, and I don't really think a lot about Satoshi and whether it's a team or not, because it's one of these things that it's a topic that is ancient. It's so old, so to me, it's like throwback to 2013 times when people were discussing. So I have no clue who it is, but probably it is Hal Finney. I mean, that's my guess, because. Unfortunately, Hal Finney passed away, and all of these bitcoins they have never moved, and there is of course a lot of incentive not to move them as well for Satoshi, because what do you do with them? I mean, you cannot really cash out. Those coins are basically untouchable, and I don't even know if it makes sense for someone to come out publicly and say that they are Satoshi, because they're disrupting the financial world. So who knows what consequences that will have.
Yeah,
so,
I agree with you. I think Hal Finney, where there's smoke, there's fire, and he seems like a good candidate. What do you think about Bitcoin, the platform or the token? I noticed you didn't start Moralis on Bitcoin. Are you excited by that technology stack, or do you think it's sort of...
No, not about the tech stack, but Bitcoin is not about the tech stack. It's about the marketing, and people value it, and it's global digital currency. And you go to any country, people have trust in Bitcoin above Ethereum, above anything else. When it comes to store value, when it comes to money, it's been promoted as money now for 10 plus years. So when it comes to the tech stack, it's horrible. But when it comes to that people value it and people see it as this digital gold, fantastic. I think that will never go away. And the Bitcoin is Bitcoin. I would have hoped that you could build stuff on it. And we have Rootstock now building, and it seems that they gain some community. At least in our roadmap page, people are upvoting Rootstock. I don't know if it's their own bot, so they create many accounts, but many people are upvoting Rootstock now. So that's a smart contract platform, like a sidechain to Bitcoin, but which seems interesting. But Bitcoin itself, you cannot build on it. People have tried. Tether was on Bitcoin, it's not anymore. Colored coins, not anymore. It's impossible to build, and it's nobody. I don't even remember last time I used Bitcoin. I use Bitcoin on Ethereum or on Avalanche or on other DeFi bridged Bitcoin. So that's it's not for everyday use. It's more this thing you have in your vault that has value in my mind.
Okay, so a couple other things before Moralis. You did machine learning for Volvo's self-driving cars. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It wasn't for Volvo, it was at Ericsson. So, but it was a project that was connected to Volvo. So both Ericsson and Volvo, they're Swedish big industry companies. So I was in the innovation team at Ericsson. So this was before I started my YouTube channel. And the innovation team is fantastic team. I mean, for me at that point, I was still in university, and I was working almost full time at Ericsson. It was such a nice team because we got to do MVPs, proof of concepts, playing with new tech. Is basically all the fun stuff with none the boring stuff, because there's no maintenance, there is no like accountability. This button does not work. I don't worry, it's just MVP, it's just MVP, you know. So it was fun, yeah. And at that point, I was very into machine learning because at that point it was a big hype when it comes to university courses, and everyone was speaking about machine. So I really got into that. Later, I discovered though that it's not really my cup of tea, because I mean, turns out it's a lot of sitting with a big CSV file and trying to make it work, waiting a long time. The development process in machine learning is very slow, and you have to like it. You have to be more towards math and
extremely
like
math heavy. Yeah, it's extremely math heavy. Yeah.
So I learned the basics, and we did some interesting prototypes and concepts for self-driving cars, but it's something that I transitioned to Web3 very, very quickly. But once I really understood what it is day to day, because at Ericsson I got to experience what is it, how do you work with machine learning day to day, and you think it's going to be some artificial intelligence. We're way, far from that. It's more mathematical models based on data that is in CSV file. You have to massage the data. You have to clean the data, and you have to feed it into a model, understand why that doesn't work. But it takes 3 hours for it to train. At least it's going to take 3 hours. So it's a slow feedback process. So look, I really respect everyone who is in machine learning, because the math level, it's insane. And it just wasn't my cup of tea, and I went into Web3. Yeah.
You muted yourself, Gabriel.
Sorry.
We don't hear you.
Yeah, apologies. So you studied, you got a master's degree at KTH Royal Institute of Technology. When did you receive that?
Yeah, so I was in the master's degree. It says that, but because I didn't finish it completely, I went full time in Web3.
Yeah.
I went full time Web3. I think in the 4th year out of 5. So you need 4 years, 5 years to get that. But at that time, our academy was blowing up. It was in 2017. I mean, who has time to finish master's degree in 2017 when crypto markets are going up? This industry is exploding. And the good thing, I mean, this is what I love about Swedish education, because you can go back anytime. It's not like that in all countries, and also the education is free, so you don't have to pay for it. So for us, it was a no. Philip and I, we met at KCH in the university. For us, it was a no-brainer to drop it, at least temporarily, and try our crypto thing. But yeah, we never went back, of course. And the good thing is, I mean, tomorrow I can go back. That's fantastic. And it's both good. I mean, the bad thing is you have people like retrying a math test like 40 times. They're already in their 50s. They're still like retrying some math tests because you have endless retries. Right. But it's, I mean, for a flexibility startup perspective, it's amazing because, of course, you can try your own wings, and you don't have to worry that they're gonna kick you out or you lost a bunch of money paying for it and now you don't finish it. So yeah, we didn't finish it.
Got it. And so then in April of 2017, you launched your first Ivan on Tech YouTube show. And it was initially focused on directing developers to resources and education. But it seems like in May, you did a programmer explaining Ethereum. So it seems like you very quickly went to blockchain.
Very quickly. I mean, I even have some of these early videos on the channel where I thought I will do a YouTube channel for developers. I didn't know that crypto was big even. It was my interest, but I didn't know that people watch it on YouTube. So I did developer videos, and I had a goal. I wanted to build my developer channel. So I had a goal, 1 video per day. So one day I came home and I just didn't have time to do some, research or some programming, go into the, open up the IDE, record some code, debug it. So I thought, okay, let me do something about crypto, Ethereum, because I can do that off the top of my head without any preparation. So I did a video, what is Ethereum? And I went from like 100 views per video to 100,000 views. And then it clicked. From that on, I only do crypto, I thought. So that is how it continued, because Web3 was up and coming, and I never saw it coming myself. At that point, it was in May 2017, and of course it went absolutely ballistic during the summer and during autumn. It was insane. So that was a big signal for me, and I'm very happy I did that video, because maybe I wouldn't be full-time Web3 if not for that. And yeah, since then I was doing content about Web3, and my journey in YouTube has gone a lot from just dev content to markets, and because I started to invest heavily myself into the space, and I also had a lot of knowledge about how the space works. And up until last year, I did a lot of that. But of course, with Moralis, there's no time for that right now, and it's my focus is all Moralis. So people ask me, "Hey, Ivan, what about altcoins? what altcoins do you have?" I'm like, bro, I'm completely out of the loop on the new altcoin gems. But of course, during 2020, 2021, it was fantastic times with these market updates and altcoins. It was wild, and it was very rewarding. But there's no time for that. It's extremely time consuming as well.
Got it. And it looks like at one point Forbes wrote an article, Ivan on Tech's journey from 0 to 2,000 subscribers in 2 years. 200,000. Oh, yeah, 200,000. So what were the pros? What did I say?
2000.
Oh, yeah. Not that exciting.
Dude, I've done that. I've done that in a couple months.
So what were the pros?
2 years.
What were the pros and the cons of that article?
I think it was mainly pros. Only pros, I think. I don't even remember what it says, but I think it says, basically what we just discussed now.
Sure.
I remember it only positive.
Got it. And so then in, I guess, 2018, you started doing Good Morning Crypto, which was like a daily thing, but you're probably
exactly
not, that
was the market updates. No, now it's Moralis. But that Good Morning Crypto, it was insane times, because I woke up at 6 a.m. every morning. I prepared the show, 8 a.m. we're live doing market. Basically what BitBoy is doing now. So BitBoy now is Good Morning Crypto, but on steroids, because of course he's way more ambitious with like having 5 Good Morning Cryptos in a day with different teams. So he's doing a lot of that. But maybe I can say that I pioneered that, morning show studio in crypto, studio format in crypto.
And then how about, lastly, Ivan on Tech Academy? I think you said it's Moralis Academy now. What is that, and how did that start, and where is it now?
Yeah, it started with us doing some development courses. We started with one course in 2017. It became massive. Then Philip and I thought, let's do another course. So we did another one. And then it just continued. And people really wanted education. And it was very difficult to find. So we built that up and it became very, very big. We had 30,000 developers in 2020 using it. And yeah, now it's even bigger, it's growing. But we rebranded it to Moralis Academy because we want one brand, one mission, one team, one vision. So it made perfect sense. So it's not now, it's at academy.moralis.io, and we have some heavyweight alumni. For example, head of blockchain at Ericsson here in Sweden, he's our alumni, and Ericsson is multi-billion-dollar company. We have head of business at Brave Browser, our alumni. Also went from high school teacher to head of business, head of sales for Latin America at Brave Browser, understanding how crypto works through our academy, understanding the potential, and a lot of others that we show on that page, academy.moralis.io. So it's now is independent team that runs it. We found great people that do content, that look out for our students, what they need, and develop it further. So I personally can focus on the Moralis tech, Moralis infrastructure.
Yeah, it's really amazing, man. The second and third order effects of your work are really impressive. Not only what you're doing with your own day-to-day work, but just the people you are informing that are then going on to create their own things.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing.
Yes, sometimes we meet people that say, hey, I was in the academy in 2018 and now I work full-time in crypto and I've been doing that for years. So it's education is very, very rewarding because it really changes people's lives. Because you may have some impression that crypto is, oh, it's so difficult to get into be technical. But no, I mean, on the opposite, it's quite easy because it's so young. It requires all the talent possible. The talent is missing in the space because we're growing so quickly. There are so many projects. So if you just have common sense, you are eager to learn things, you want to explore new things, you want to go a bit outside of your comfort zone, you will find your success in crypto quite quickly, maybe quicker than in any industry, because crypto is the only place in the world where you can be top 1% in literally a few months. I mean, if you go deep into crypto and you study one thing, let's say you study tokenomics, let's say you study go-to-market for projects, let's say you study something else, you can literally be top 1% expert in the world, which is impossible in any other industry. If you want to be top 1% in Web2, you have 40 years in front of you of work. Maybe then you're gonna, because there are so many smart people there already and everyone is in Web2. But Web3, it's totally new field where it's unexplored. And if you go deep now, you can be highly successful literally this year. It sounds insane. It sounds like too good to be true, but it is like that. And we've seen many people go from zero to full-time, to speaking at conferences, being in podcasts, in Web3 very quickly.
Especially with all these new chains that pop up and new protocols and applications. Even as a content developer, it's a fantastic, there's just so many new opportunities. Like if you want to be the person who writes tweets about Avalanche or the person who makes YouTube videos about this particular thing, there's so many opportunities that pop up every few weeks, honestly.
Exactly.
New niches that are created for creators to take over, for developers to jump on. And it's such a cool time to do that, because nobody has been doing this for more than 5 years. Exactly. Like literally, like the creators of Ethereum have been doing this for 5 years, but everybody else, I mean, it's 2019 or later for the most part.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't say it any better than that. And it has been an hour. I want to be very respectful of Ivan's time. So thank you so much, Ivan. Is there any shout outs you want to give or any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, thanks guys for inviting me. It was fantastic speaking together, and hope to do it again in the future. And if I'm to plug something for at the end here, if you want to work in Web3, go to talent.moralis.io. We have a lot. We have for developers, for content creators, open positions. We have for writers, for QA testers. It's a lot. I mean, if you're listening to this and you've made it until the end of this podcast, you're probably top 10%, top 5%. Approximately that's how many people watch until the end when I look at my analytics, at least in YouTube. So you may be the correct person.
Got it. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime, of course. If you ever have anything you want to plug, or if you just want to chat, obviously just ping either one of us and you're welcome back. And yeah, go check out talent.moralis.io. As I mentioned, I've been saying this for years. The next huge startup is going to emerge from this space. I'm absolutely positive. And I believe in the Moralis team. So I would say that's a chance to ride a rocket ship. So go check that out. So thank you, Ivan. I appreciate it. Connor, any last minute thoughts?
I really enjoyed your little life story at the end there. It actually a lot of parallels to my life. I also had a traumatic RuneScape hack back in the day.
Yeah, you know what happened. So FunOrb, the site they launched, FunOrb. Basically, they made it so you can chat. You can be logged into FunOrb, which is like a separate site that the developers of RuneScape made, but you can chat with RuneScape players. But when you do that, the color of the text is different in the RuneScape chat window. So they told me, hey, Ivan, you can trust us because look at the color of the chat. It's not the normal chat. We are the creators of RuneScape, and we're here to secure your account. But how did you get hacked?
So I was, my parents did not like how many video games that I was playing. And I really wanted to become a member so I could get access to the special stuff. And so I was looking up ways of like, how can I hack RuneScape to make myself a member? And because that was the only way. My parents were like, there's no way we're paying $10 a month for you or whatever. And so I was going down all these seedy forums. And then finally I found somebody who's like, I'm an ex-employee. They wronged me and I'll make anybody a member for free. Like if you just send me your credentials, I will, I'll hook you up. And so I did that. I was so excited. I logged in to finally be a member and all my stuff was gone.
Yeah. It's crazy. But RuneScape is perfect preparation for crypto because there were so many scammers scamming 9-year-olds. It's the same with Habbo Hotel. It's a lot of that you get really aware of how it works, but also with the markets, with Grand Exchange, where you trade these assets, they can pump in price, they can dump in price, and it's a lot of this interaction with people online, trading, selling, buying, using the Grand Exchange with the charts, how the different assets trade. So yeah, it was great. It is a fantastic intro to crypto in my view.
Yeah, and I think that's where like a lot of the play to earn stuff is going to go eventually, if we can get that like kind of implementation, because I think a lot of it is not, I think that what's not going to be super successful over the long run is just like, generating assets. But I think the most successful thing is like, can I successfully trade my World of Warcraft account that I've spent 40 hours on so that I don't have to go through the grind and I can just buy one safely, securely, and then have some of those in-game economies. I think that's going to be super successful.
I was thinking we should run some RuneScape private server, and I don't know if it's legal, but it's a nice weekend project because there are private servers, like they re-implement RuneScape backend and you can run it. But adding NFTs to that, like you log in with your MetaMask, that would be a fantastic weekend project. you add Web3 to RuneScape.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that was really awesome. I loved RuneScape. My other thing I got really into was I actually started my programming with ActionScript and Flash games. That was a fantastic way to start. But now like cameras are cheap, so like all the creative people just make YouTube videos instead of animation, because that's just so much like lower barrier to entry now, and the animation's way harder. But that was how I started. And then So if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you enjoy this conversation, you can find me. I am DAS_Connor, DAS_CONNOR.
Your Twitter is what, Ivan?
Ivan on Tech.
Ivan on Tech, one word?
Yes. Let's see. DOS Connor, 2 N's. Yes. Let's see.
Yeah. DAS_CONNOR.
There you go. Yes. Found you.
Got it.
You have the dog? Is the dog picture? Yeah.
The cats.
Oh, no. Sorry. Dos Muchos. That's another one. Why is Dos Muchos coming up? I can find it. DOS_Connor with 2 Connor.
I have like 8,000 or 9,000 followers. I should be able to come up with search. But anyway, we can talk about this offline. So Gabriel, where can people find you on Twitter?
Yeah, you can.
But wait.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, I was gonna share the screen, but I can't. But DOS_Connor, this account. Maybe you blocked me, or I blocked you.
I didn't block you. You may have blocked me.
Wait. Let's see. Is it this one? I'm sending in the chat.
No. DAS, not DOS.
DAS.
Germany. Der die Das.
Das,
Das
yes.
Connor.
Yeah, found you. Yeah, I followed. Perfect.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at CG Cardona. So Cardona, my last name. Okay, well, thanks you guys. If you made it this far, you're an absolute champion. We'll be back same time next week. We have an absolute amazing 2022 lined up. It's going to be an absolutely epic year for the Subnet show and the Avalanche network and Moralis as well. So please join us. And as always, from Snowflake to Avalanche and through consensus to the stars. Thank you so much, everybody. Peace.